It looks something like this, comparing your soils. This is actually an assignment that we're going to give you that is intended to allow you to map where a handful of metrics are on your field relative to our study averages, as well as the statewide median. So just to give you a little bit of a description of how to look at this chart. So we're looking here at our example. We've got total organic matter. That orange bar across that represents the range for our study. The orange triangle represents the median for our study.
So half the samples are above and below that.
Right. The blue line represents the median for the state baseline, just as a general reference point. And the different lines that you see there, labeled FC1, FC2, FC3, and FC4, those represent the 4 different field classes that we've assigned your fields to in this study. So that it's going to be the way things appear for each of these metrics. And we're going to walk through how to do that. So you're going to here find the field average for your study for these 5 different metrics: aggregate stability, which is a physical characteristic; phosphorus, which is a chemical; and then total organic matter, active carbon, and respiration, which are all biological measures. And if you want to know where you can find those, we've got arrows that highlight where you can find aggregate stability, phosphorus, and that's Malic-3 phosphorus for those that are curious. Total organic matter, active carbon, and respiration.
One thing quick on the reps, all of your fields were split into 3 subsections, and so those reflect, if you have your map, you'll find out where those rep lines are. But you can see how variable samples are. Within each rep, we take 10 soil samples at least and merge those up. So it's a lot of cores that go into this. But if you just average those reps, we've done the math for you to create a single number for the field as a whole. You can look at the reps as well and see how they fit in. If it moves through the field like you know your field, that's great. If it surprises you, then talk to us. Doesn't make sense.
All right, so next step is once you've got that field average, so in this case, or for this farm, it might be total organic matter percentage 2.74%. What you can do is on that chart, with your pencil, mark approximately where that would fall. So in this case, in this example, it was 2.7, which was slightly below the study average, and you can label that however it makes sense to you. How do you refer to that field to yourself? One thing I will note on our example page, we initially had it as Skunk Road Southwest as the name. When it got printed out, something with the Adobe generated some gibberish. So if you're looking at some alien language there, that's what happened. We didn't notice until we printed it out.
Even disguised our fake field.
Yeah. So don't worry, we're not showing anybody's field name, although I've seen some pretty strange field names out there, so. All right. All right, so why don't you take a couple of minutes to see if you can chart out all those parameters. Cassie, I was thinking maybe you and I can mill about and see if people have questions as they're filling it out.
We're not gonna grade this test.
I will.
Okay, that's right.
Write your name on your paper.
Yeah.
It's probably, yeah, something that just didn't work out. And sometimes that happens in the lab.
Call that applied.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably, when we analyze that, eventually, that'll just be a instant data flow. I would, if you've got multiple fields, you don't necessarily have to do all of it. What I basically want to give you guys the chance to do here is to see how you can make that comparison yourself. And if you have an opportunity to look at it, if something is, not making sense, that you have a chance to ask questions.
You're like way over, away from the average. We want to know what you're doing.
Good.
Extra copies of the worksheet too, if anybody completely messes it up.
I get six. I get three. Still better.
Questions? Making sense, kind of? Yeah.
Carroll County. Yeah, that's how one. You can find this. Up there, I mean, it's. No, and I get like down south.
That's a state.
An ideal. Where do you want the stability, where do you want?
And we're not that far off.
That's
I think there's.
Above average doesn't necessarily.
Without the next.
Not necessarily. I think for most of these, so for aggregate stability, above average is good. For phosphorus, above average, not so good. If you're talking about. For total organic matter, usually above.
Well, this is.
Higher the better. Carbon.
Yeah.
You guys were about, to be honest, this is all. very close.
Any surprise?
We were looking at the average.
Yeah, and that's why we have this.
Between 7 and
That's a good question. That's what an operator-
Respiration.
Did you ask that?
Generally a more biological.
I just did something right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think it's like.
Yeah.
What about where we're at?
Yeah, so-
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a
Very
recognized.
good.
Not every soil over there.
Yeah, I think
the same.
Yeah,
You know what the stuff is.
Is that right? Think of that map on all those red counties.
Some of it might be.
Yeah.
Our soil check.
I remember. Yeah, I don't know why.
I can envision a test. I guess because they probably had more data.
That first little vote is good, I guess.
I do. That worked for me.
Already.
First, yeah.
This is
And now he's, yeah, how started numbers, so. Thank you for giving me my. But I prepared it well for you.
Oh, yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah, she did, right?
Oh, I knew smart, yeah, quiet, but, always think
Good one.
Being where they're at.
Yeah, well, yeah, they're really.
They really are.
We had a few fields like that. I flagged them for.
What it the other as it was really resetting those into a deployment.
The tankers are in and out.
Yeah.
It's just the old. Again, this is going to be.
So I also can average it all pretty massive here, but I would think. No, I didn't.
So it's the average of all fields.
Both regions, so.
You see a variable.
Yeah, no, you're.
And we will get into that today.
What's the
Interesting
difference?
difference.
Well, can we say that or like, a lot of, or then.
All right, folks, we have a limited amount of time here. You probably won't get a chance to chart all of your fields, but you've now had a chance to go through that, at least hopefully with one of your fields, so you see how this process works. So before I jump in, first off, it's important to recognize that not all soils are the same. So the starting place for some soils are going to differ from others. So while it's appropriate to be able to compare and contrast, across our study and across our state, it's not necessarily all that useful for you. So the better approach is to track these things over time in your field to see if you're making progress. And some of these metrics are becoming available with some of your standard soil testing labs. So if you're interested in the biological measures, take a look at where you get your soil analysis done and see if that's something that you want to continue to look at over time. A couple of other things to note: different labs have slightly different methods, and although there are efforts to help labs have uniformity and consistency across labs, there's always going to be some slight differences among labs. And so if you're using a particular analysis lab and have been for many, many years, stick to it, because you're likely to get better long-term results. And we're seeing the same thing here. So for example, if you go to the POC measure in our sheet, you'll notice that the POC values on average in our study are, maybe about 25% less than the Ohio baseline. There's a pretty good reason for that. We sent our samples to a lab in Missouri, unfortunately, whereas in the past, those lab results were generated just in the neighboring building. We don't have the capacity right now to run those here in this lab. So different lab results generate slightly different, averages. That said, our study as a whole was all done in the same place, so we can compare within the study. All right.